the drink that they currently have. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if a patron was there and at last call, they decide, hey, I'm gonna go get my last beer.
Right, defense, you may proceed.
Can you state your name for the record?
Jacqueline Reyes?
And Jacqueline, had you been employed as a bartender at El Volcan?
Yes.
And how long did you work at El Volcan?
About 8 years.
Okay. And do you have any family relationship to Mariano Rendon?
Yes.
And how are you related to him?
He's my father-in-law.
Okay. And describe your general duties as a bartender there at El Volcan.
Not over serving, making sure people are only getting the amount of liquor they're supposed to or beer, and then cutting them off as soon as you see that they're too intoxicated.
Okay. And then just generally making drinks and serving them. Do you serve at the bar or do you serve outside the bar, just at the bar?
Just at the bar.
Okay. And then did you know Tina Jimenez and Pablo Rodriguez? Did you know them?
Yeah, they would come in every weekend.
Okay. So they were regulars, would you say?
Yes, I would serve them every
And do you know if they sat in a particular area of the bar when they would come in?
Yes.
And where was that at?
Closer to my bar by the kitchen.
Okay. And so were you the bartender that they would always go to purchase their drinks from?
Yes.
Okay, because you're right there as close to where they always sit in the same area, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, over to the last, and how long have they been coming there?
I remember them maybe about 6 years back.
6 years back?
I would be there every weekend.
So you would see them every week for about 6 years,
Yes.
plus or minus 1 or 2 weeks, right? During that period of time, what would they generally order when they would come into the bar?
They would order a couple beers, Modelos, and then they would switch off between Modelo and Bucana and Red Bull.
What is Bucana and Red Bull?
It's a whiskey.
Okay, Bucana's a whiskey.
Yes.
And then they would they sometimes buy the beer by the bucket?
They would get them in pairs.
In pairs,
Mhm.
okay. And were there times when, had you ever had to cut Pablo off from drinking because he was overserved? The relevance was the state made an effort to show that they had drank very little on that occasion, and the fact that he was had been
All right,
seen.
that objection will be sustained.
Did you were there times when you would see Pablo Rodriguez where you felt that he was intoxicated?
Yes, there was a couple of times where he would be really, really sweaty, more than
Object
usual.
To the question, if I
It-
object-
Could everyone please approach? All right, so just so you know, when any attorney makes an objection, just stop speaking, because that means they want me to make a ruling on something.
So on the night, did you see Pablo Rodriguez and Tina Jimenez the night that this big fight occurred?
Yes.
And was that the last time that you saw them at the bar?
Yes.
Okay. And can you describe what you noticed about Pablo Rodriguez's demeanor that night?
He was a little more intoxicated than usual. He was really sweaty. His eyes were red, and he was a little humbly, so I cut him off.
Okay. And then, and about how long, from the time that you cut him off to the time that the fight occurred, about how long had that been?
Maybe 30 minutes.
Okay. But as a bartender, one of the problems is that if I go and buy, let's say I come up to you and I buy 4 drinks, right? You can't control who might else hand somebody a beer or a drink, correct?
No.
Once I leave the bar, it's like you can't control who I'm giving those to.
Correct.
And there are times when you may cut off a patron, but another patron may give them alcohol that you're unaware of. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
I'll pass it with you.
All right, state.
Ms. Reyes, so you stated that the defendant is your father-in-law, is that correct?
Yes.
And about how long have you known him?
15 years.
Okay, and so I'm assuming you're married to his son, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have children with his son?
2.
Okay. And so you've known him for 15 years, and you said you've been married or together with the son for how many years?
15.
Okay, and then you worked at Volcan for 8 years, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the whole time that you've been employed at Volcan, were you a bartender?
No, I started off working the door,
Okay.
and then I switched over to bartending.
And then you stated, well, I guess Volcan is closed currently, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and about how long ago did it close?
About 30 days. A little
Like
over.
a month ago,
Yeah.
maybe? And that was the location that's located at Ingram Road, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and it's a little up the street from Ingram Park Mall, correct?
yes,
And that's located here in Bear County.
yes,
Okay. And isn't it true that the defendant is opening a new Volcan at Randy's Ballroom on Bandera Road?
yes,
Okay, and that's set to open this weekend, correct?
correct.
Okay. And so in your duties as a bartender, well, I guess if we describe the atmosphere at Volcan, I mean, it's a place that people go to drink alcohol, correct, and
Mhm.
dance, right? Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, and so that's kind of the experience that you all seek to provide, right? A good time where people can drink alcohol and dance to cumbias and norteño music.
yeah,
Is that
safe
correct?
environment for them to have some fun.
Okay, and just so the jury's aware, the cumbias and norteños is just a type of Spanish music. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and that was predominantly what you all would play there at Volcan, correct?
correct.
Okay. And so you stated that on the night of the incident, well, I guess you stated that you were familiar with Pablo and Tina, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and they were regulars of yours, correct?
yes,
And you stated on the night of that you observed Pablo with red eyes, is that correct?
yes.
Would it surprise you to know that a police officer that interacted with him a couple of maybe 30 minutes later didn't note those same observations?
Don't see how he didn't see that. His eyes were bright red.
And you stated that you cut Pablo off on that night, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, but you were at the bar when the fight happened, correct?
it was right after we closed down the bar.
Okay, so you didn't actually see what happened regarding the fight, is that correct?
No, I saw after the aftermath.
Okay, and I guess I kind of have a question because I'm kind of confused about how you guys, or the protocol about last call. So when we say last call, is that an announcement that's being made for people to go buy their last drink, or can you explain that to me? Please?
So we announce it on the microphone. That last call, they have 10 minutes to go get a last drink or finish their drink, and then we pull alcohol.
Okay, so then, if somebody chooses to go buy their last drink, they're expected to drink that within the last 10 minutes?
No, we give them about 5 minutes to finish.
Okay, just, a little. So you announce last call, correct?
Mhm.
And that gives the patrons a choice to either buy their last beer or finish the drink that they currently have. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if a patron was there and at last call, they decide, hey, I'm gonna go get, my last beer, then how fast are they expected to drink that beer?
They need to have it done by at least 2:01. We start telling them they need to finish it. They need to go in the trash.
Okay, and so about how many minutes is that they're expected to drink their last drink if they were to buy it at the last call?
The 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Okay. That's a pretty dangerous situation if you have somebody that's chugging a drink in 10 minutes. correct?
Objection relevance.
All right, that'll be sustained.
We pass the witness, Your Honor.
You said that you saw the aftermath of the fight. Did you see people that worked at the bar that were injured?
Yes.
And who did you see that was injured?
Calvin and Anthony.
And I just want to talk about your observation. What did you observe about Anthony?
Anthony was all red. All his equipment was taken off, and he looked like he got scratched up a little bit.
What did you notice about Calvin?
Calvin was holding his shoulder. They threw him on the floor, and he said that it was hurting really bad.
I'll pass witness.
All right, any further questions?
Just briefly, Your Honor. Does Volcan have cameras inside?
Yes.
Okay, and in your experience in working there, are the cameras usually in good working order?
Not all the time.
Okay, and so since you work there, can you tell me where the cameras are located?
I don't know where all of them are located. I just know where
Okay, go ahead and tell me where the few that you remember are located.
the entrance and the front door, by one of the bars and outside.
Okay, have you reviewed any footage in preparation for your testimony?
No,
So if there's a camera by the bar, would that have captured you cutting Pablo off?
no,
And why is that?
because I'm in the back bar.
Okay, so you're saying there's no camera by where you're at?
No,
Okay. Would it surprise you to know that the defendant, when asked to provide video footage for this case, stated that the internet had been down on the night of the offense?
can you ask that
I'm
again?
gonna object. This is misleading. I mean, I think they've already been testimony that Mr. Rendon provided video to the state, and the state has actually already admitted that into evidence. So I think that question is trying to mislead the jury.
All right, that'll be overruled. You can ask the question.
Were you aware that when the defendant was initially asked to provide video footage of what happened in Volcan that night, he stated that he wouldn't be able to do that because the internet was down on that night?
Yes.
It would surprise you.
No, it usually goes down. We have a lot of internet issues.
Okay. Now, there has been some footage entered, and would it surprise you that other people that were in the bar were walking out and were stumbly and had red eyes and had the same, descriptors that you described earlier?
No.
No, so usually people that go there, they drink to a level of where they're swaying and.
No, we cut them off before then.
Okay, so if there's people that are on the surveillance video stumbling out and have red eyes and stuff, that's a surprise to you?
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying about how many people did you cut off the night of the offense?
Just Pablo and one other person.
Okay, and on any other nights, how many people would you typically cut off?
A lot of people usually handle their liquor, so I don't have to cut them off very often.
Okay. Do you know what the legal definition of intoxication is?
Yeah, objection relevance.
That'll be overruled. You can answer either yes or no.
Yes.
What is it?
They're tumbling, they're slurring their words, they have red eyes. Just sometimes they get angry, sometimes they don't.
Okay, and is that, I guess, what you found in your training and experience?
Yes.
We pass the witness, Your Honor.
I have nothing further for this witness.
All right, is this witness excused or subject to recall?
Excused from the defense.
Excuse.
All right, the rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state of defense. If you remove your microphone. All right, all right.
This time the defense will call Chris B in the way. Let him stand.
If you'll have a seat here, please, sir. All right, and there's a tiny microphone there that's up there, it's square. If you'll put that on your shirt somewhere. All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up so that members of the jury can hear. If you'll state your name for the record, please.
So Chris Bienwell.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you. Chris, I want to, first of all, let me ask you this. Did you work last night?
Yes, sir.
What's your shift that you worked last night?
Third shift. I work overnights.
Okay, and what time does third shift start?
I started at 11 p.m. I got off at 6 o'clock this morning.
Okay. And so this would be a time that you would normally be sleeping. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And where do you work at, Chris?
Retired right now at IFCO.
And what do you do for them?
I do labor work. Load. It's a warehouse. I do loading, unloading.
Okay, and how long have you been there?
Like a few weeks, month,
Okay.
maybe.
And did you used to work at El Volcan?
Yes, sir.
And how long did you work there?
Since 2021.
Okay. And how many shifts would you do there per week on an average?
Well, it changed from time to time.
Okay.
Like, there was a time where I was full-time worker, and then there was a time when I was just the weekend. That was it.
Okay. And what about in August of 2023? What were your general working hours during that time?
Definitely worked the weekend. I for sure always caught every weekend. Every Saturday was the main day. That there was a lot of people and there we had to go.
Okay.
All the employees had to be there.
And what was your general duties there when you were working there in August of 2023?
I was a parking attendant, and after I closed down parking, I would go inside and I would do portering.
Okay. And what does a porter do?
I pick up empty bottles and throw them away, or once it's past time for there to be no more alcohol, we'll go and tell people it's time to throw their alcohol away, and
Okay.
and
So there's like several porters doing that at a last call. So there's you and other porters that are actually going out to collect the alcohol.
If we have some hired at the time, yes,
Yeah.
or the security will go around also
Okay.
to help us.
And I want to turn your attention back to, the night was August 19th and into the early mornings of August 20th, but we're really talking about the early hours of August 20th. So like around 2 o'clock in the morning at last call. On that day, what were you doing in the bar? You'd already finished your parking, correct? And you had gone in to begin doing the porter work. And tell me about last call on that day when the fight broke out.
I was going around and with the security officer with Anthony, and we were throwing away empty bottles and telling people that it was time to throw their alcohol drinks away, and people would have to throw it away.
And at some
Pastime.
point, did you become aware of a disturbance that occurred?
Yes, Anthony told a security guard. He took one guy that there was pastime for his drink and he had to throw it away, and then he refused, and he jerked back away, and Anthony tried to reach for it, and then they began to like argue over the drink, and then they began tussling over it.
Was Anthony called over there, or was he there when they first to get the drink from the gentleman?
No, we were walking together
Okay.
to go around, throw away drinks. So he was already there. He was just another person that we were telling
Okay.
that it was past time and they needed to throw their drinks away.
And at some point, did they get in kind of a tug of war over the drink?
Yes, and then it led to the dance floor, like deeper into the dance floor, and then the guy's friends went and they all jumped on Anthony.
Okay. And to be fair, you didn't know who this person was. You didn't know his name or who this person was that was not giving up their beer.
No,
fair to say?
no,
And-
I don't know him.
If his name is Pablo Rodriguez, if he testified that he had one extra drink and threw it away, is that accurate?
No, he didn't throw it away because he was fighting with Anthony, the security guard, over the drink.
Okay. And at some point when he started to struggle with Anthony over the drink, what happened after that? I mean, what did that man do after that?
They started struggling over the drink, and it led deeper into the dance floor, and then they went around some people, and so I couldn't really see right away, but then the guy's friends went to go help, but once I did get around the people, because there's usually a lot of people in there, so it's hard to
Sure.
get around or see very well. But once I got around the people and I saw them, I saw all I could see was Anthony's legs sticking out, and he had 3 guys on top of him.
Okay. So Anthony was on the ground and there were 3 men on top of him. Is that correct? And at that time, do you know if Anthony had a gun on him?
Yeah, he carries a gun. He's a
Okay.
security guard that carries a gun.
And did you feel it was a dangerous situation for Anthony, who's armed, to be on the ground with 3 men on top of him?
Objection, speculation, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Well, I mean, he can talk if that was one of his concerns. Was it one of your concerns?
Objection, speculation, Your Honor.
No, it's his personal feelings.
The objection will be overruled.
Did you have concern about that
About him being on the ground.
with the
I-
gun? Yeah.
With the gun, just him being on the ground with 3 guys on top of him, I had a lot of concern for
Okay.
him, just his safety and everything, yeah.
And these 3 guys, what were they doing to Anthony?
I couldn't really see what they were doing to him because they were on top of him. All I could see was his legs sticking out. So
Okay.
I went over there to try to help him.
And what did you do to try to help him?
I was trying to get that guy's friends back, and I was trying to keep them back, and I was trying to let Anthony, the security guard, and that one guy have their one-on-one rather than him having all these people jump on him.
Okay.
So I was trying to keep that guy's friends all back
Were you-
from.
Were you able to do that?
I was trying, and me and my coworker, we were both trying to keep them back, but they kept pushing through us and going around us and jumping on Anthony once again and all teaming up on him. And
And-
this went on for a while.
It went on for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then there was a female involved as well. Can you tell me what she was doing?
She wasn't jumping on Anthony at that time, at least that I saw, but she was, like, she was trying to push us because we're trying to keep the other guys back. So she was pushing us and yelling, and she was yelling at us and stuff.
And she laid hands on you?
Yeah, she pushed me a few times.
Okay.
Because I was trying to keep the other guys back away. But I didn't touch her at all. I just let her push me. I was mainly focused on the men, but I
Okay.
mean, I am a small guy. I'm only 130 pounds, so I can, people can push me around. I got
And who was your coworker that was trying to help keep these people off of Anthony?
my coworker was Calvin. He was also another porter, and we were both trying to keep the guy's friend back.
At some time, did you see that Calvin had gotten knocked down?
I didn't see him get knocked down, but he was trying to help. But at one time, eventually he did get hurt, and he couldn't help anymore.
Okay, and then just kind of on a scale, okay? So when we're talking about this fight that's going on, okay? 10 is full WWE melee where, it's just carnage, everybody's fighting like crazy, it's life or death struggle. And 1 is just a little touch. Where are we at in this spectrum in the intensity of this fight that was going on?
It was like a wrestling match, they were going at it. They were wrestling back and forth. They were on the ground, back up to their feet, back on the ground. They were all jumping on Anthony, the security guard again, and then, we were trying to help him, and he'll get back to his feet, and then they were all jumping on him again.
And would you consider this an intense fight that was going on?
I mean, they were all teaming up on him, so I thought it was definitely wasn't fair. So that's why I was trying to keep the guy's friends back and let him just have his one-on-one with the main guy.
And were you concerned for Anthony's safety?
Yes, especially when he had, the times when we couldn't help him because they were overpowering us, and they were all just on top of him, or just like, you know, dragging him around or whatever, slamming him and stuff.
Were you concerned for your safety?
Well, kind of. I thought maybe they would start trying to hit me or something. I was concerned for my safety, but they were mostly focused on Anthony. It seemed like for some reason they were just kept trying to go after him.
And at some point, JR comes over to help. Is that correct?
Yes.
And tell me, what does JR do that you saw?
Like, at later on in the fight, my coworker, Calvin was hurt. I was tired, and once again, Anthony was on the floor, and he had all 3 of the guys on top of him, and I was looking around for help because none of the other security guards had came yet, and then that's when JR and another security guard showed up, and they got the guy, and they picked him up, and the guy's friends, when they showed up, the guy's friends backed off, and they got the main guy, and they picked him up, and the security guard walked him out.
And so, did you believe that JR's purpose was trying to stop this fight from occurring?
Check speculation, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Yes, definitely.
Excuse me,
That's fine.
I sustained the objection. You're not allowed to answer.
Yeah, if there's ever an objection, if one of us says objection, just wait, and then she'll make a ruling, and then if we're allowed to ask a question, we'll just ask it again. Okay. And after the fight, did you see that Anthony was injured at all?
Yes, he was pretty injured and exhausted, and he had been back and forth, hitting the floor, and he said one of the guys had a,
Don't tell me what someone else said, okay? We can't talk about what other people say. That's what we call hearsay. So you don't need to say that.
well, he had his hat and his baton and his radio missing, so we're trying to help him
Did,
find this stuff afterwards.
were you able to find any of his stuff?
No, didn't find none of the stuff.
And did you see who ripped his radio off?
I saw him at one point during the whole wrestling match having a tug of war over his radio with the main guy that he first asked to throw the drink away.
And what about Calvin? Did you see that Calvin was injured after the fight?
Yes, he was.
Can you describe what injuries Calvin had?
I'm not too sure exactly.
Okay.
I just know that he said he was hurt.
Okay. And it was clear to you that from observing him that he was in pain?
Yeah, I think his back or his shoulder or something like that.
I'll pass witness.
Great state.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your full name. Was it Christopher Villanueva?
Christopher Villanueva.
Okay. And what's your date of birth, sir?
It's May 25, 87.
And I'm sorry, can you just move that microphone a little bit closer, if you don't mind? I'm sort of hard of hearing, so if you don't mind, if you just gonna,
Oh,
this one right here. Yeah, so you can move it closer to you if you like. That way I can hear. Now you stated, I think earlier that you worked at Joe's Volcano for a number of years, is that correct?
Since 2021.
2021? And so you know Moreno Rendon,
Yes, sir.
JR. You just have to answer out loud, sir, sorry.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
And I mean, you worked for him that whole time, is that right?
Yes, sir. For him and Esmeralda and the family.
His wife, right?
Yes.
Okay. And they're the ones that run Joe's Volcano. Since then, it's closed down about a month ago, we heard, is that right?
Yes, I was working there up until March, the end of March, I believe.
And we heard also with testimony that it's gonna reopen at Randy's Ballroom, right?
Possibly. I don't know all the facts of everything.
sorry?
But I don't know like all the facts on that and everything, but I'm hoping so.
You're hoping so?
Hopefully, I don't know.
I mean, because you would probably go work there again.
Possibly.
And so let's talk about this night. I mean, Mr. Lucas was asking you some questions about, like, say, injuries. And in the description you gave of this fight of up and down, and then you spoke about three guys on top of Anthony. And how were they on top of it? Like they were all like packed on top of each other? Like, or some on his head, some on his feet? How were they on top of him?
Yeah, like on the side, the head, the shoulder, like all I could see is legs. And the first time that they were all on top of him, but it happened, several times, as it went on.
And so, I mean, this was, as you said, and tell me if I'm wrong, this was an intense fight.
Well, it was a wrestling match, I would say mostly.
Wrestling mostly? So there was no punching.
I didn't see punching, but
So this whole time you're there, and you're there from the beginning of this fight to the end of the fight, you saw no punching.
well, there was times when they were all on top of him. I couldn't see what they were doing to him,
I'm
and
sorry.
there was times that they were all on top of him, and I couldn't see what they were doing to him. So I was really worried about his safety and what they were doing to him. And I heard that he got punched.
You heard that.
Well, that's what he said. But
Who said that?
Anthony said that they
Anthony
punched
said that.
him. Yeah.
I mean, you spoke to Anthony after this fight, right?
Yes.
You
well,
spoke to Anthony recently, haven't you?
No, not, well, right after the fight happened, I was helping him look for his stuff.
So you talked to him right after, then you never talked to him again.
Well, yeah, he worked there still for a while and I talked to him a little bit,
Okay.
but right after the everything happened, I was helping him look for his stuff and he was exhausted, he was tired, he was hurt and, from hitting the floor so many times and people pushing him and pulling him and getting on top of him and, grabbing him, all that stuff. And he had said that, he got punched in the face and also, so You
So
know.
wait, you just said he got punched in the face.
that's what Anthony said.
Okay, but again, you didn't see any punching the whole time.
I didn't see it.
Okay, you just
It
heard,
was-
you heard that
it-
from somebody else.
It was more like from what I saw, it looked more like a big wrestling match.
So just a wrestling match you saw. Now, and you testified that you're fearful of his safety, is that right?
Yeah, well, yes, when you have three guys on top of you and he was laid flat on the floor and all I could see his legs, so, I was worried about what they were doing to him,
So
what was happening.
you try to help out, but you said you're a small guy, you're about my size, not that big, right?
I'm not very big, I'm 130 pounds.
Probably a little heavier, but the fact is that you stood by and watched the whole thing happen, though, right?
I was trying to keep the guys' friends away, but they kept powering through, and I tried, but they kept, powering through and getting around me and continued to jump on Anthony, the
Okay, so
security guard.
all these guys are just beating on and jumping on and wrestling and tugging and pushing Anthony the whole time. We got that. That's what your testimony would be, right? Is that correct?
Say it again.
All these guys, three, was there more than three? Was there five? How many?
What I remember is 3 guys and 1 girl. That's from what I remember, but
Okay, so
I
three
mean,
guys and one
there
girl.
was a lot of people around,
So there's a lot of people around.
Well, it's a
can we
club, there's a
approach
lot of
briefly?
people in the club,
Yes.
I guess let me just I want to clarify this. So you're saying 3 guys and a girl were involved in this, and that's it.
from what I remember.
What you remember. And look, all I want is what you remember, okay?
Yes,
Not what
sir.
somebody else told you, but what you remember. Because, I mean, to be fair, you spoke with Anthony Cochran, which is the security guard, after this happened, right?
A little bit.
Okay, and then you also spoke with Mariano Rendon, the defendant in this case, about this after it happened, right?
I kept working there, but we didn't speak too much about it. Like, I would only see him at work, and then we were always real busy at work.
Okay, so I guess my question is, you never spoke to JR about this incident at all?
Little bit, but not like a lot, not really. I didn't even know that there was still like, this was still an issue. I mean, it happened so long ago,
Okay,
I don't.
all right. So through all this incident that happens, is what we call, let's just call it a fight. You state that you were standing there, at least trying to help, or at least watching everything that happened.
I was trying to keep the guys' friends back.
But off of Anthony, right?
Yes.
So you, during this whole fight, you were focused on Anthony, is that correct?
I was trying to keep that guy's friends back.
And I understand that, sir. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
That's what me and my coworker were doing, just trying to keep the guys' friends back as much as we could, but there was times we were able to a little bit, but there was times they got through us, and it wasn't until, later on that JR and another security guard came to help and I felt very relieved because I was very worried about, Anthony and what was gonna happen to him or.
Okay. Okay. And you say this went on for a while. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How long? Like 5 minutes?
I don't know. I don't know how long. It just went on for a while, you know,
So you don't know a time limit?
I'm not sure,
Just have,
sir.
I'm sorry, you just have to answer out loud for the
Oh.
court reporter, okay?
I don't know exact time limit, sir. I just know it went on for a good while to where I was tired, you know, and trying to hold people back and, you know,
And so, again, my question simply is, during this whole time that this fight is happening, you're focused on Anthony because you were worried about his safety.
I was worried about Anthony's safety.
So that's a yes?
I was, well, I was worried about Anthony's safety, but also worried about, I guess, everybody else's safety if they got a hold of his gun or something, because he did have a gun on him. You know, and he was a security guard and he was only by himself, you know. And I was wondering where all the rest of the security guards were, you know, and why he was by himself having, you know, all these guys, you know, team up on him.
Okay. So when you saw JR arrive, that's your boss, right?
It's my boss, yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when he arrives, he starts pushing people around, is that right?
No, he just went, him and the security guard went and they got the guy and they picked him up, but the guy's friends backed off once they came. So they just got that one guy and picked him up, and then the security guard walked him out.
So again, you're watching JR there and they get all the friends back, the other security guards there, Anthony's there. Is this when Anthony is on top of that guy?
Anthony was on the floor and he had three guys on top of him when JR showed up with the other security guard.
Okay, let's talk about
Yeah.
right after that.
Me and my coworker were standing there looking around for help. My coworker is hurt, you know, I was tired, you know, we were looking around for help, and you know, Anthony's on the floor. He's got three guys on top of him. That's when JR and another security guard show up.
Okay, and I'm not gonna interrupt you anymore. But what I'm gonna ask you is if you just answer my question, okay? My question is, after the three guys that you say were on top of Anthony were removed, they were taken off, right? And pushed to the side, is that right?
No, well, when JR and security guard came, they got the main guy, and the guy's friends backed off. When they saw JR and security guard show up, the guy's friends, they backed up.
Backed away. Where was that guy?
The guys, at least. The girl, she wanted to argue and yell at everybody and stuff. And then the guys, they came back too, I believe, and started arguing too and stuff. So they backed up for a second, but then they came back to argue and this and that, you know.
Again, when the people were backed off, where was Anthony?
Well, he had three guys on top of him, and JR showed up, got the one guy to pick him up, and then that's when the guy's friends started to back off, and then Anthony was getting back to his feet.
Okay, so JR shows up, people back off, they pick up the guy right away and escort him out?
JR showed up with another security guard, and they picked the guy up, and the security guard walked him out.
And you stood there the whole time and watched all that?
Yes.
So when was it that you saw this man over here use both knees and jump into the man on the ground's stomach? When did you see that?
I didn't see
You
that.
didn't see that, but you were there the whole time.
I was there, but I mean, can only, you know, see so much. I don't know.
Okay, I'm
I
gonna show you
didn't,
what's
I didn't,
I'm
I
gonna show you what's
didn't.
Mark State Exhibit number 2, and that's what can you look at to the big screen up there? It might be easier for you to see. I know that one has a glare down there. This is already in evidence. I'm gonna go ahead and play it for you, okay? Okay, where are you at?
I don't know. I can't even barely see what's going on in there.
I'm sorry, you gotta speak up and.
I don't know. I can't barely see what's going on in there.
Okay, Your Honor, we may have to, I'm gonna play it again for him since.
It's probably Anthony and the guy.
Where are the other people?
Well, where's the rest of the video?
I'll play the rest of
Like,
the video, but I'm
no,
just asking
well,
you.
all the video, everything that happened before that.
This is the only video we have. Is there other videos?
Well, why wouldn't y'all show the whole video of when they were all jumping on him before?
Have you seen that video?
Well, obviously they're not showing it.
No, I'm asking you. Have you seen that video?
It would be before this.
I'm asking you. Have you seen a video
I
of everybody
haven't, I
jumping on
haven't
Anthony?
seen any videos.
Sorry?
I haven't seen any videos.
You haven't seen
This is
any
my
videos?
first time watching this.
Okay. Where are you at? Where are you standing at when this is going on?
I'm not sure, sir. I can't really see everybody that's there, but I'm sure I'm around there, standing around
Okay.
somewhere.
We'll go ahead and play the rest of it for you, okay? Who's that to the right?
Okay,
I'm sorry?
that's probably me, but you can't really tell.
It's probably you.
Can't really see who it is or anybody is really.
But that's what you were wearing that night. Is that right?
Possibly.
Possibly. Then Mark State Exhibit number 21.
John, can I just move so I can see what
Sure.
they're showing?
But if I didn't see everything that happened, like I didn't see what you're trying to tell me that I saw. I mean, if I didn't see it, I didn't see it, I'm telling you what I saw and what I didn't see.
But that's you standing in the video in State Exhibit number 2. Isn't that correct?
Probably. You can't tell, you can't see
Okay.
who that is in the video.
Okay. And you stated after this. Oh, Judge, we're gonna ask to enter State Exhibit number 21. Senator Defense.
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 21 is admitted without objection.
Hey, I just published it. I'll hand it to you.
Well, can I see
Publish it.
what you're showing?
Yes. State Exhibit number 21. Yes, sir.
Just in the entrance door or the exit door?
That's correct. In fact, this is the
Stand-
entrance
Standing. That's the entrance, the exit, they're right next to each other.
right, of Joe's Volcano that night.
Okay.
You have your arm outreached. Why do you have your arm outreached? Do you know?
Huh? I'm probably opening the door for somebody. I don't.
What if I asked you, well, let me ask you this. Did you hand anything back to Anthony Cochran?
Hand anything to him.
You didn't hand his badge back to him?
Not that I remember.
Now, did you talk to Anthony like you stated previously?
Not previously. I mean, not recently.
Not recently, but that night, you said that he was really just worn out or something after this fight. Is that right?
He was worn out.
Yes.
He was tired. He was hurt.
And you stated that, you try to help him find stuff. Is that right? Like his radio, because you said that his radio was being tugged on and a tug of war was over his radio also. Do you remember that?
I said that at one point I seen him having a tug of war over his radio with
Right.
the main guy. And after the end of everything, not only me but everybody, the coworkers, we were all trying to help Anthony find his stuff.
Okay.
He was missing a baton, he was missing his radio, and he was missing his hat, his own personal like a cowboy hat. I guess it was expensive, I'm not sure, but he seemed pretty upset about it.
So do you remember finding something of his or giving it back to him? Because earlier you said you didn't find anything.
I don't remember. Where's Anthony? Is that
I'm just asking you, is that you?
Again, can I move to see the exhibit?
Yes, you can move around.
well, why don't you show everybody what you're showing me?
I'm asking you, is that you?
Well,
Yes
I
or
think
no?
you should show everybody what you're showing me.
Just asking, is this you?
It's just a person standing there at the exit door with their hand out holding something. But whether I was given that, I don't know who was given that.
You can just answer my question. Is that you?
Well, I think you should show it to everybody.
Again, I'll try to ask one more time. Is this you?
Well, show everybody what you want me to tell.
Judge Kim,
Yes,
Can I just-
excuse me, sir. Questions are being asked. You need to answer the question. Do you understand?
I understand.
Do you understand the last question?
I understand it's
All right, State, ask your question again and you will answer the question. Do you
it's
understand?
just this
On
person
this- on-
standing there holding something
is
at the
that
exit door.
you?
It looks like me.
That's good enough. Here, I'm gonna play this video for you.
Okay,
Pause this video.
but does that mean what does that mean that I don't know what time that was? I mean, when I was giving that to him.
All right,
don't
ladies
know.
and gentlemen, I'm gonna have you step outside just for a few minutes and I'll just have you in the hallway. Please remember my previous instructions.
No, second.
All right, everyone, please be. All right, I'm gonna explain something to you and I want you to internalize what I'm saying and listen to what I'm saying. Do you understand?
Okay,
You need to say yes or no. Do you understand?
you want me to listen to you?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So this is the way the legal process works. Sometimes maybe people don't understand the legal process because maybe this is your first time being a witness. I don't know. But this is what's going to end up happening. The defense will ask you questions. You will answer his questions. That's Mr. Bloomquist. The state is currently asking you questions. That's Mr. Garehand. You're going to listen to the question and you're going to answer the question that's asked of you. Do you understand? There is not to be any of this, well, why don't you show the jury? Well, why don't you do that? Because that question has not been asked of you. Do you understand? So you're going to answer the questions that are asked of you. Do you understand?
Okay.
All right, let's bring the jurors back in. All right, so we're going to take 5 minutes, everyone. You're welcome.